Crochet by Landry, everybody. So today we're going to make a pencil pouch that looks like a pencil. So grab your Bernat Super Value yarn, your Yarn Inspirations pattern off of yarninspirations.com. I'll put the link in the description box down below. And let's get started making something for back to school. All right, everybody, let's get started making our crochet pencil pouch. So here's what you're going to need to get started. You're going to need a 5mm hook, a yarn needle, scissors, and then you're also going to need a button to close your pencil pouch. Your yarn you're going to need is Bernat Super Value, and you're going to need it in baby pink, soft gray, a bright yellow, oatmeal, and a black. Once you've got all your supplies together, let's get started. You got your supplies together? If you did, great, let's get started. So here's what the Bernat Super Value looks like. Comes in a nice roll. This is what the baby pink looks like. So you're going to be starting with baby pink, and you're just going to start by making a slip knot, like so. Okay, once you've got your slip knot, you're going to start off by chaining 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Once you've got 11 chains, what you're going to do is you're going to put 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then just continue all the way down to the end. So you're going to go in the second chain, 1 single crochet, and then just keep going until you've reached the end. And once you've reached the end, I will see you there. Once you've reached the end of your chain, you should have 10 single crochets by the end. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do rows 2 to 6, and you're going to do this by chaining 1, turning your work, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch across, and you're going to do that from rows 2 to 6. So just starting with the first one and working your way across, and again you should have 10 single crochets in each row. Okay, just like this. Okay, and once you've reached from rows 2 to 6, I will catch up with you. Okay, have you finished up to row 6? If you have, that's great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change colors. But before you do that, you want to leave a little bit of a tail for sewing. So when we sew our piece together, we're going to need a little bit of a tail for sewing. So you're going to leave a little bit of a tail for sewing. And now what you're going to do is you're going to change colors. So what you're going to do is you're just going to chain 1 with your new color. Now, if you want to, you can leave a little bit of a tail before you chain. That way you're ready for the next time. Okay, and now we're just going to turn your work. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do row 7. So we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch across to establish the beginning of our gray. So what we're going to do is just do 1 across, 1 in each stitch. Again, you should have 10. There we go. Now what you're going to do is you're going to chain again, chain 1, turn your work, and now what you're going to do is you're going to be working in the front loops. So you're going to be working in the loop closest to you, the one that's closest to you, because you have 2 loops. You're going to work on the one that's closest to you, and you're just going to single crochet in it, and you're going to do the same thing all the way across, and you should, again, should have 10 stitches when you're finished your row. Just go all the way, and once you reach the end, I will catch up. Okay, moving on to the next row, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to put a single crochet in each stitch across again. This is row 9. Just put 1 single crochet in each stitch across. And again, you should have 10 stitches no matter what throughout this whole project until we get to the tip of the pencil. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to chain one and turn our work again. And just like before, we're going to put a single crochet in each stitch across, but we're only going to do it in the front loops, which is again closest to us. So just again, one single crochet in each stitch in the front loop only. And once you've completed your row, I will meet you there. Now that you're done your gray part, we are going to move on to the main body of the pencil. All right. So if you finished your gray, what you want to do is you want to change colors to your yellow. Now I've got a bit of a lighter yellow here, but you can use a bright yellow. So what you're going to do is just chain one with your new color and snip your old one. Won't be needing the gray anymore for now. So you can put that aside. I'm just going to chain one and turn. And now what we're going to do is from rows 11 to 28, we're going to be putting one stitch, single crochet in each stitch all the way across. Back and forth, chain one and turn at the end of each row. And you're going to do that from rows 11 to 28. That is the main body of the pencil. Okay, chain one and turn, and then just continue going back and forth, back and forth. And once you've completed up to 28 rows, I will meet up with you there. Okay, did you make it to row 28? If you did, great. So this is what it should look like, your first piece, when you reach 28 rows. So now, you're going to be making, we're going to be making the back piece, which is the part that looks like a pencil. So when you go to make your second piece, you're going to make it up until your 28th row. Once you've hit your 28th row on your second piece, which is the front piece where we're sewing on our button, you're going to stop there, fasten off and trim your yarn, and then put it off to the side. And then we'll get ready to put them together. But for now, let's keep going on the top half of our pencil. Now what you want to do is just leave a little bit of a tail for stitching your thing closed later. Okay, and put your yellow to the side. You may need it a little bit later in case you need more yarn to sew it together. And you're going to want to bring out your brownish yarn for the part of the pencil, for the top part of the pencil. And again, you're going to want to chain one. Okay. You're going to want to chain one with your new color. And then what you want to do for row 29 is you want to just put one single crochet in each stitch across. One stitch, one single crochet in each stitch, just to get you started. And then we're going to start decreasing, making the tip smaller to make it look more like a pencil. So now what we're going to do is at the beginning of the row, we're going to do what's called a single crochet two together stitch. So we're going to go into the first stitch, pull up a loop, then you're going to go in through the second one and pull up another loop. So you should have 3 loops on your hook. Then you're just going to go ahead and pull through all 3 of those loops. That's putting 2 stitches together. Then you're going to single crochet in the next 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you should have 2 stitches left. And you're going to do the same thing you did at the beginning. Go in through one, pull up a loop, go in through the next one, pull up another loop, and then just single crochet them together. Now what you're going to do is chain one and turn your work, and you're going to do 1 stitch, 1 single crochet in each stitch across. Now you should have, I believe it's 8 single crochets, because we went from having 10 to 8. Okay. Now we're going to chain one and turn again. And now we're going to do a single crochet, 2 together stitch again at the beginning and at the end. So pull up 1 loop, pull up a 2nd loop, and single crochet them together. And then you're going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then single crochet the 2 last ones together. Okay, and then chain 1 and turn, and then just put 1 stitch, 1 single crochet in each stitch across again. 1 more, there we go. Okay, so now for row 34, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and then single crochet the first 2 stitches together. Okay, and then do the next 2 stitches. Okay, and then single crochet the 2 last ones together. There we go. And now what you want to do is you want to switch to your black yarn. Okay, did you switch to your black yarn? You should chain 1 with your black yarn, turn your work, and now you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch across. You should have 4 stitches. There we go. And now we're going to chain 1 and turn again. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do, instead of just doing, we're going to do put single crochet 2 together. Okay, and then we're going to do it one more time. So we only have 4 stitches. Okay. Now we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and then we're just going to put 1 stitch in each of those next 2. There we go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make the button, the loop for the button. Okay, so you're going to just, now you're going to chain 6 to make the loop for the buttonhole. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to skip a single crochet and single crochet into the next one. Or sorry, slip stitch into the last single crochet. There we go. And now you're just going to fasten off. And again, leave a little bit of a tail so you can, or just leave a small tail so you can sew it in. Okay, there we go. Just like that. And then same thing for your brown. You're not going to need to sew anything together with that one. So you can trim it so it's small. Okay, and then put your black yarn aside because we're done with it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew in those tails that I'm not using, so they're not in my way when I go to sew my project together. Just the ones that I'm not going to use, and I'm going to try and sew them to the inside of my project. So when you're looking at your face of your project, you should, if you want to know which one's the right side and which one's the wrong side, the right side will have little stitches that look like this on the gray part, where you didn't use those back loops. That's the front side of your project. So when you sew in your ends, you want to sew them to what part is the inside, so you don't see them. And again, you're just going to sew them in inside some of the stitches. That way they're not seen and they're out of your way and your project looks neat and tidy. I'm going to keep sewing in all my loose ends that I'm not using, and I will meet up with you when you are finished. Okay, so I just finished making my second piece. Now, as you can see, I did one that looks like a full pencil, and then only one until the end of the yellow. So that way it looks like more like a pouch instead of 2 pencils put together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew the button on our front piece, so that way we don't have to do it once we've got the whole thing sewn together. So I'm just going to use some embroidery floss. You can also use thread. Whatever you have on hand will be fine. Now I'm just going to get a needle that will fit through my buttonhole here. And once you've got that together, let's sew on our button. Let's get ready to sew on our little button on the front part of our front piece for our pencil. Now looking at the front piece, that's the piece that doesn't have the top half of the pencil. You should see in your gray section stitches that are unused. That is your that is the front of your project. The other side is the back. So you want to sew the button on to the front of your piece. And now when you sew it on, you kind of want to aim for the middle. So that way you can fold your pencil over properly. Don't go too far down because your pencil won't reach that, your loop won't reach that far. So I'm going to aim for right about there. And I'm going to start sewing it in by going from the back to the front. So I'm going to go through the back, go through the button, and pull up a tail. I'm not going to leave too long, but just long enough so I can tie it in a knot when I get it. And I'm going to go back through my project. And I'm just going to go back and forth a few times to make sure it doesn't come off. Now, if you have a button with 4 holes, then you're going to want to do this as many times as you want just to make sure your button doesn't come loose. I think this is my last time. This also gets really hard to push your needle through. There we go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim my little end here. And I'm just going to tie these 2 ends in a double knot on the back. Nice and tight and snug so they don't come loose. Okay. And then I'm just going to trim them. And there we have it. We have a button sewed on to our front. Now let's put our 2 pieces together. So you're going to take your front piece and make sure on your pencil piece that those bumpy parts on the front of your gray piece are on the opposite side. So you're going to sew the wrong sides together. So line up your colors. Now when you're sewing this or putting this together, I'm going to slip stitch it together. So you want to make sure you're going to slip stitch it with corresponding colors. You don't want to use a yellow in a pink section. You want it to look more like a pencil as best as you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip stitch it together. That's why I left an unworked loop here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start in the top corner here. And I'm just going to start slip stitching. So I'm going to go through one side, go through the other side, pull up a loop, and just slip stitch it. And I'm just going to go down the yellow side with the yellow yarn. And I'm just going to go slowly down, trying to find where I can put my hook, where my hook will fit in. Now you don't want to skip too far and leave too big of a gap. So leave an even amount as best as you can down the side. And then we'll switch to the gray when we get there. Okay. So I'm just going to switch to the gray now while working over top of my yellow. That way I don't have to sew it in later. But I may just sew it in. That way it's really unnoticeable. So we're going to do the same thing we were doing, except now we're just switching to the gray tail that we have left out. And you're just going to sew the gray piece closed as best as you can while keeping your pieces lined up so they don't shift on you. Now let's switch to the pink. Let's do the pink now. So what you're going to do for the pink is you're just going to do the same thing you've been doing. Is just fit your hook in wherever you can and just try to make an even amount of slip stitches. Or if you're sewing it together, same thing. Make sure you have an even amount. No big large gaps so your pencils or even your crochet hooks can fit through. You can use this for crochet hooks. You can use it for your pencils for school. I'm just going to go all the way around. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did on this side, on the opposite side. And once we get back up to the top, we will be all finished. We have it. Once you've got your whole project sewn together, this is what it should look like. That's it for today, everybody. We made a pencil pouch that looks like a pencil. You can make as many of these as you can. They're probably great gifts for your kids for school or great gifts for your teachers. So don't forget to subscribe down below, hit that like button and the notification bell. Leave a comment for what videos you'd like to see next time. And I will catch you next Friday.